Hi everyone, happy International Women's Day. So I'm so excited and a little bit nervous as well to share my very first podcast episode with you. So this has been on my to-do list for such a long time. I keep telling myself that I need more time, I need better equipment, I need better lighting. But in realistic times, if I waited for all that, this just would never happen. So I thought, it's International Women's Day. It's also a very special day because it's also my mum's birthday. She's no longer with us, but she was an incredibly strong woman back in her day. I know she'll be extremely proud of me. She had her struggles towards the end of her life, like a lot of us do have. And if she was here, she would be my very first guest. But she's not here. I know she's watching. So today, I'm really thrilled to be talking to the lovely Sally Tarbox. Tarbox. I thought I said it wrong then, Sally. Please forgive me when you pop on. Someone who's agreed to keep it real, keep it raw, being authentic. If there's any triggers within this, you'll be able to see them in the post that's either above or below, depending on what platform you're watching on. I just want to ask one small favor. If you're not watching on YouTube now, or if you are watching on YouTube, but pop over to YouTube and please subscribe, because that's going to help this Joe's Chats get out to more ladies, more, well, men can watch it as well. It's not ladies only. I'm only going to be talking to ladies though. So I thank you for your support. And without further ado, let's invite in the lovely Sally.
Hello,
Sally. Oh, it's so good to see you.
Lovely to see you.
I want to say thank you because it's my very first podcast and I don't know how it's going to go. Nothing's been scripted. Nothing's been practiced. We don't know what we're going to talk about. We're just keeping it real, keeping it authentic. And that's the way I want to go with these.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute honour. When you sent me a message, I was like, oh, thank you. And especially on International Women's Day as well, right?
Yeah.
I just think that's so super special that you're launching this on International Women's Day, because it really does show what women can do, right? That nothing is out of our reach now. So no. I am truly honoured to be sitting down with you today. So thank you so much, my darling.
Oh, it's lovely having you. How long have we known each other now?
So we've known each other, what, a year and a half? It's about a year and
a half. We met in Florida, didn't we?
We did, yeah. We met in Florida when we were both filming Fox TV. And I remember kind of like coming together with you, and we sort of like, after we'd done our interviews and stuff like that, we then like popped off. I don't even know how it really came about. I don't know whether we ended up in a cab together on the way home. I can't even remember, to be honest. And it was like, I remember you being like, does anybody want to come for a wine? And I was like, yes, I do. I do. And it ended up just being
I think if I remember right, I think we were meeting some of the ladies and they'd gone on ahead. And we said, well, shall we pop in here for one and then go and meet them afterwards? And then we ended up like for hours.
I remember that moment, and I can remember sitting there with you, and it's actually something that is still really really close to my heart, because at the particular time I was coming to the back end of a really rough period of my life. And it's so interesting, because I think you see this a lot, is like on the face of it, obviously what I was doing this interview with Fox TV. It was quite incredible. My business was growing. Like that part of my life was doing incredibly well, and yet on the flip side, actually privately and personally behind closed doors, I was having a hell of a I was in the depths of hell, really, to be honest with you. And I can remember kind of coming together with you and just feeling like it's one of those, isn't it? You know, you sit down, you have a glass of wine. Obviously, it does make you a bit more relaxed. It makes you a bit more honest. But I remember sitting in your company and just being like, this lady is so kind and so wise. And really, realistically, you didn't know me from Tom, so I could have blurted a load of stuff out to you, and you would have been like, yeah, whatever. But I just remember feeling very safe in the space that we kind of had there. And that is something that I will carry for a really long time, because it wasn't anything that was forced. It just came naturally. It was just you and me in a wine bar in Florida, just having a bottle of wine and just chatting. And again, then that, even in that moment, it was like there was nothing was off limits, you know, because you kind of accepted me and showed up. I showed up as myself, and vice versa. And that's where I hold our friendship so dear, because I'm like, it doesn't matter whether it's great, it's bad, it's ugly. Like, I can still feel like I can do that with you. So that's yeah.
I think I felt that night you got a lot off your chest,
I did.
You had stuff going on in the background.
Oh my
We
gosh.
were doing this interview where everything was a bit glamorous, and we were all talking about how well we were doing in our businesses, and you had this turmoil going on.
Yeah,
I felt like when you got it out, it was just like a relief to share.
Yeah.
And be realistic rather than you were being a bit like, oh, everything's brilliant, where actually no, it's not. And I felt that. So
and I think it almost like turned into what I can kind of now think of as almost like therapy, because I kind of to a certain extent was talking to a stranger when obviously we sat down that day. And I think so it's so much easier, but I kind of equally knew at the same time, I was like, if this woman's in the coaching world and she's passionate about her business, and I'd obviously seen you throughout the day as well, and I was like, she shows up very authentically as herself. So I kind of felt safe instantly, do you know what I mean? To be able to sit there and share with you some of the real deep pain that I was going through. So yeah, it was an incredible moment.
And I'm a lot older than you, and I've been around the block a few times, so I could relate to a lot of the things that you were saying.
Absolutely, and that was it, wasn't it? It was a time to speak, and also wisdom and knowledge and understanding, and you know, you've obviously been through certain things in your life as well. So being able to bring that to the table to someone like me was just invaluable. It was beautiful.
And how are you now with that situation?
I'm good. Yes, I'm in a really, really good space actually at the moment. So obviously, for anybody who doesn't know, I myself and my ex-partner, we broke up. It'll be about 2 years ago now, just under 2 years ago. We'd been together.
He was with you in Florida, wasn't he? And I think that might have started the conversation, because because you said, no, I want to get away, you know, driving me crazy. I was like, oh, is it not right between you?
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what happened. So we'd broken up. Unfortunately, he had kind of found someone else, and I think there'd been various other people without my kind of knowing. But then afterwards, obviously, it came out in the wash. But I think the reason I was in such a particularly dark place when we met was because there was a lot of other emotion going on with it as well. It's one of those things, I think. Sometimes it's so tricky, you know, when you're in a relationship and you invest so much time and energy into something. Like 16 years is a hell of a long time. Had a child together, had a house together. And on paper, you want it all to work, right? It's like, this is the logical thing is for this to work, and we sort this out and things like that. But because there was someone else involved from his side, it got I think on reflection, he had a lot going on. But I think I was very upset because he hadn't talked to me about it, as opposed to talking to me and working as a team and in a relationship kind of setting. He'd kind of got solace in someone else, and that in itself was extremely painful. But I think also at the same time, the summer before we met, it had got that bad. It got very abusive, very emotionally abusive. And very, very toxic. He displayed massive traits of narcissism, and I remember talking to my friends about it, because the thing is, in these situations, when you're so caught up in something, you can't kind of see the wood for the trees.
Don't see it yourself.
You can't, no, and you get to a point where you kind of think, I'm the one that's going crazy. Like, there's something wrong with me, you know? But I can remember talking to my friends about it, various friends and things like that, that obviously were watching me go through this period of my life, and obviously quite worried about me, because it got very narcissistic, very, very toxic, very abusive. And the amount of gaslighting and things like that I took was just horrible. It was so painful that I think the knock-on effect that it kind of had in my life, because obviously at this point I'm still trying to run my coaching businesses, show up for my clients. I had a 5-year-old then, a 4 or 5-year-old, so trying to show up for her as well. And obviously I think because of all the work I've done on myself and the qualifications I've got, being so aware that the way I was acting around my daughter, I knew was affecting her, like having a huge effect on her. And I was so scared of this effect that it was going to have on her long term, but equally at the same time, desperately feeling like I'm trying to save a sinking ship that was sinking, but trying to save it anyway. Obviously trying to show up in business and show up in personal relationships. You know, my family didn't really find out about anything until it had finally finished, because I couldn't talk to it. I couldn't process it all.
Yeah.
And it got really, really dark. Like, I can remember going to the doctor because I wasn't sleeping either. I wasn't eating properly. You know, there's just so much going on. And I remember going to the doctor and
when things like that in your life, it affects everything. And then it's like a spiral down, really, then, isn't it?
It literally is. It affects everything. And I think there's only so long you can kind of hide it. And then and then people start to catch on to something's not right here. I remember going to the doctor because I wasn't sleeping. I was like, I was kind of surviving on about an hour's sleep a night. And obviously that we both know that plays with your mental state as well. So when you've got a big situation going on, you've got a lack of sleep, I wasn't eating properly, I wasn't exercising because I didn't have the physical energy. So it's this like kind of loop that you start going in. And I remember
worse, a bad situation.
Yeah.
Even worse when you're not getting enough sleep. So then you're not mentally being able to handle it at the same time. So so it was. I remember going to the doctor, and obviously I think at that point I was so desperate. Because it had started to affect my mind and the way I thought. So I remember kind of putting my coaching business on hold for a bit because I was like, I can't show up for my clients. Like I can't show up for myself. Like I can't even show up for my daughter at the moment. And they obviously tried to put me on like anti-anxiety tablets and antidepressants and stuff like that. And they said that they were going to start me with therapy and things like that. And I remember going through the assessment of therapy. This is how dark it got. I remember going through the assessment of therapy. And by that point, I was suicidal. I was very much on the brink. And I remember you had to go through this assessment before you started the therapy process. And I remember at the end of the assessment, the woman turned around to me. She was like, "You're too far gone. Can't help you." And I was, And I was like, but, and they obviously ask you all these series of questions of like, you know, do you ever have suicidal thoughts? Do you ever, and because I was in such a dark place. And I do think as well, the sleep deprivation had a massive, massive impact on me, because that's originally why I went to the doctor, because I was like, I just want to sleep. I feel like if I sleep, I can start to feel a bit better, and then I can start to think straight. And they don't want to put you on sleep medication. So so it was. If someone turns around and says you're too far gone, what happens then? That's outrageous.
It was like, no, you're too far. Yeah, they said, the woman. Yeah, she said to me. I remember it to this day. I was standing in my back garden while my friend was looking after my daughter downstairs, and I just walked in and I was like, they can't help me. And she was like, what are you talking about? They can't help you. And I was like, she said, I'm too far gone. That's it. And she was just like, I don't even know what I think about it. I'm like,
so no referral, no nothing. She just sent you home.
They literally sent me home. She said, I will speak to your doctor again. We'll put you on antipsychosis tablets. And I just remember thinking at the time, I don't want any of this. Like, I don't want the suicidal thoughts. I don't want to go through with these things that are going through in my head. I don't want to be in this situation that I was with my ex-partner. I don't want to be like I have a real strong belief that like modern medicine is really important when you really need it. Like when you're in that darker state, then modern medicine is the thing that can just start to get you somewhere else, you know. But equally at the same time, I know, because of all the training I've done, that the mindset is just as important. So actually the holistical and the medicine together can work really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
She was like, what do you mean they can't help me? And I said, no, they just can't help me. And I think it was at that point I really, really hit the wall. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, I don't know what to do anymore. Like I am completely lost. I'm completely stuck. So the first thing that I did was put myself into private therapy, because I think I'd got to a point where I was like, I can't show up for anyone. I can't even show up for myself. And I knew how much of an effect it was having on Willow. And that was the thing that really, really hurt me more than anything else. And it was of my doing, because I couldn't process my own emotions. So I couldn't process her emotions.
Yeah.
And I think that was sort of like the June, July time that I then put myself in really intensive therapy. Because I think I had actually a really interesting conversation with one of my coaches a little while ago. And I said to her, this is why I'm such an advocate of people like yourself and other coaches and coaches in the industry, because I actually, and I still believe this wholeheartedly to this day, I believe that if I because I'd obviously been studying mindset and coaching for a long time prior to obviously all this happening, for about a good 6-7 years. If I hadn't have had that basis, then I don't think I would be here today.
Yeah, you probably would.
And yeah,
an awful thought, because your training was at the back of your head, and you,
yes.
so you knew.
And this is exactly, and this is when I was having a conversation with my coach. I said, this is why I wholeheartedly believe like what coaches are in this industry are doing is so important, because actually when I was working with my private one-to-one coach, I had done a program with her, like a group program, many years ago, and I said to her, what you don't understand is actually the things that you were teaching in that group program, because the group program was big, you probably didn't even know me, you didn't even know my name, like you didn't recognize me from anyone. But actually, if you hadn't have started to give that foundation, then I don't know where I would have been. Yeah. And that's why I'm such an advocate of coaching, but I'm also an advocate of women supporting other women, because sometimes actually you don't even realize you're doing it when we're doing it in these bigger environments, or when we're doing it like on these live chats or anything like that, that actually you're potentially having a real positive impact in someone's life. And it might not even be on that particular day. It might be something you say and then it kind of crops up for them later on.
It could be just one sentence that you say that another woman's going to hear and go, oh, okay. That's what I need. That's what I need to do. Yeah. That's how I need to think. That's how I need to feel. So when did this all happen? Before you came to Florida?
Yes, right? It did. Yeah.
So why was Reese with you in Florida?
I think at that point I was still very much in the thick of it, if that makes sense, because these things do take a while to kind of play out. And I still think at that particular time, I actually think he was too frightened, because he believed that I would go with someone else.
Oh, really?
So it was like a control thing.
Has he always been that way? Has he always been possessive?
Yeah, he's always been. Well, no, he hasn't always been like that. It's only over the last, I guess, like a couple of years of relationship he got quite like that. So I always found that quite interesting. But I think the thing that I kind of reflect on now is when I look at like that part of myself that obviously, was in Florida, but also at the back end of like I was getting in a better place when we were in Florida, but I wasn't anywhere like I am now. I think it's on reflection, you kind of think to yourself like, actually, sometimes we outgrow situations or relationships, and it's not until we really have our back up against the wall that we actually end up realizing that. Because I think I'd probably felt like that maybe for a little while. And actually what it made me do is almost become more passionate about investing time into myself, so then I could grow my businesses and come back a much more, I say stronger, but more someone that now can really connect with people on another level if you've ever been through something like that. And
relate to more.
So actually it made me readdress like some major areas of my life, but actually I think it was probably the push that I needed to be able to do that. Because I remember having a conversation with him. This was when we were together, and I was obviously starting my businesses and stuff like that. And he made a really like crazy comment one day and was like, "Oh, I hate that you empower people. I hate that. I hate that you do that."
Did that make him feel small?
Yeah, and I remember sitting there being like, "Why? Like, why would you hate that I want to help people, that I want to make people feel better, that I want to make people believe in themselves, that I want people to be able to go for the things that like, why would you hate that?" And he's like, "I don't know, but I just hate it." And I remember thinking, wow.
Big red flag, that one.
Right. Is that where we've got to now? Like, that's crazy. That's wild.
Yeah, it's only when we look back, isn't it? I mean, I've been in a toxic relationship myself. Well, before my husband. My husband's lovely, by the way. My ex-husband, and then relationships before that. It's not until you look back and you're like, "Oh my God, that red flag was so big. How did I not see it?"
Yeah.
It's like smacks you.
Yeah, like how much more did it need to punch me in the face?
Yeah. But you're in the thick of it, and you're like, you just don't see it, do you? Or you do see it, and you think, oh, you know, that I'll put that to the back of my head because I know he didn't mean it, and I can
yes, right.
You know, and all we tell ourselves all these things, don't we?
Yeah.
The fact that he didn't like you empowering other people just says it all, really.
And
so
I think that
now is he? I suppose because he's your daughter's, he's Willow's dad. I guess he's a little bit in your life still.
Yeah, he is a little bit, like he sees her kind of off and on, to be honest with you. So do you know what it is? I think Willow and I are super close. We always have been super close. I think because I have always kind of been the, I guess, main parent to provide for her. So we have a super close relationship. So they do see each other. I don't know whether they get on particularly well. I know she's 6, and there are days at the moment where she's very emotional. She's a growing, learning 6-year-old and understanding how her feelings and emotions work and all those kinds of things. But if anything, I just feel like it's me and her against the world, to be honest with you. Like, I've always been the entrepreneur, the business ideas, but this girl comes to me with some of them.
Wow. You're modelling all that for her.
Exactly right.
Because we worry about they're going to pick up the bad things, but they're also picking up all the good things.
Yeah, exactly that. So, and we've just come back from Southeast Asia, and we had an amazing time doing that. It was just amazing. It was just incredible. I think it's one of those things. I have this real understanding in my life that I don't ever want Willow to think that the world is this box that we live in North London. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
So, whenever we have wild conversations, normally late night before she goes to bed, wild conversations about, like, what do you want to do, or where do you want to travel? And I always say to her, like, you can do anything. You can do absolutely anything. Don't get me wrong, you're going to have to work hard, but you can do anything. So yes, we come back from Southeast Asia, and then we are off to Brazil in August. So I'm really looking forward to doing that as well. And again, I just want to show her the world, show her how incredible this world is.
Memories she's going to have growing up, going into her teens, and going into a young adulthood, and all those memories she's got as a child traveling with her mum are just going to be priceless.
Yeah.
Speaking of childhood, what was your childhood like?
My childhood was, on paper, it was brilliant, and I'm still very close to my parents, and I'm very close to my siblings. On paper, it was fantastic. I think I found it incredibly lonely. Like, my parents are wonderful people. They really are, and they've done an awful lot for me in my life. But they were very much, they were old school, because their parents, so my grandparents, if that makes sense, were of the era of the end of the Second World War. Right. So I do think that my parents probably didn't have, I guess, that nurturing side to them, if that made sense. So I did feel like my parents weren't particularly nurturing towards me. It was only like so many years ago that I kind of worked it all out. I was like, this makes so much sense. Because I think back when my grandparents were alive, there were very much topics you didn't talk about. You didn't show a lot of affection to your kids. It was much more like that. It was a lot colder. Whereas I think
not heard.
Absolutely right. Yeah. And I think that probably did play a massive part coming down towards me. And the other thing was, there's big age gaps between me and my siblings. So, like, for instance, my oldest sister, she's 10 years older than me. We're now actually super close, and I talk to her about absolutely everything. And my parents both had quite demanding jobs as well. So my dad, we didn't see loads of. My mum had a very demanding job in a school as a teacher.
Why was that gap there? Did you come by accident later on?
Oh, how rude. That was a wonderful darling. No.
Later on in life, they go, oh, uh-oh.
No, do you know what? I think my mum at some point had a miscarriage. I don't know whether it's so there's me, then there's another sister who's 7 years older, and then there's another sister who's 10 years older. Okay. So I think there was somewhere along the line, but I'm not 100% sure where it was. So childhood for me, and we grew up in a very, very small village in the middle of Hampshire, very small as well. No like pavements, no street lamps, no. And it was a lovely village, like, don't get me wrong, I still sometimes drive through it now when I go and see friends and things, but it was a very British, middle-class, white village. That's the only way I can describe it, to be honest with you. So everybody knows everybody's business.
Middle and everyone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there you go, church.
I was brought up in a village very similar. There's a church in the middle, no shop, one tiny little pub.
Yeah.
The post office was the vicar's conservatory.
Yes,
house.
there you go. Yes, this is exactly it. This is exactly it. And don't get me wrong, now I look back on reflection, like, it was right in the deep countryside, so it was absolutely beautiful. And I'm very grateful that I grew up with that, because I think that still, I can remember walking our dogs, like, on my own, you know, aged 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
And I love the outside, and I love the countryside, and I love kind of the sound of birds singing and stuff. And I think that probably comes from my childhood, to be honest, because it did feel very, very safe. You were very safe. But I think off of the back of that, I felt very lonely as well. And because I went to, like, when I was in senior school, I went to a school in like another town that was a good, like, 25, 30 minutes away. So kind of making friends or keeping up with those sorts of friendships was really, really tricky, right? Because
they were all in that town and you weren't.
And I wasn't. Yeah, so I did find myself incredibly lonely and really, really struggling with sort of friendships and things like that. And also at those sort of teenage years, you have the pressures, don't you, of, like, your peers or what everyone else is doing. And if you're not really there, you kind of, it almost gives you, I guess I always wanted to find somewhere to fit in. Do you know what I mean? I always wanted to fit in. I was never the brightest button. I was not the sharpest tool. But then I wasn't the geeky one. I wasn't the sporty one. I did all of it, but I didn't do one of it really, really well. If that makes sense. So childhood for me was really, really tricky, and that massively took its toll on me in my teens, like, hugely took its toll for me. I think because I wanted to feel this sense of belonging. I wanted to feel like I fitted in somewhere. You know, my siblings were older, they had left home, they were off to university or getting jobs or whatever. I didn't feel like this sense of belonging in my schooling life. So I didn't really know where I fit in. So I massively battled with that for quite a few years. And that did come out in, really, really bad ways. And I think it was, again, it's like a sense of control. You don't feel like you're in control of any of it. And for
that, then.
Well, for me, unfortunately, it resulted really badly, and I ended up developing a really bad eating disorder. Like, I was really, really poorly for a number of years. I suffered really badly with anorexia. And I think it was a sense of control. Like, I didn't feel like I fitted in anywhere. I didn't feel like I had control over anything. And at that age as well, where I was living, it wasn't like there were buses coming through. So it wasn't like I could jump on a bus and go and see my mates or anything. Like, if I needed to go anywhere, I had to rely on my parents. So it, again, took a massive, massive toll on me. And again, I got very, very poorly from it. You know, I think when you get that ill, because I suffered with it quite a few years, you know, I started to lose my hair, my fingernails, and everyone, when sometimes people look at those sorts of diseases, people think, oh, you know, it's because they want to be thin, that person wants to be thin or whatever, and actually it's not. A lot of the time it's a control thing. It's a mental thing as opposed to a physical thing.
So it's the only thing that you felt that you had control over, was what you put in your body.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Did your parents notice something?
Oh my God, yeah. Like, of course, because I mean, when it got really, really bad, I mean, I'm not particularly short. I'm not tall. I think I'm about 5'3", about average height for a woman. But I think when it got really, really bad, I think I dropped to about 5 stone. There was nothing of me. There was absolutely, and then
what age was that?
Huh?
What age was that?
That was at 16.
16, 5 stone. Oh my word.
Yeah. So it got really, really bad at that point, and I did ended up. I was then hospitalised, and put down that route. And interestingly, I obviously had this going on, and my older sister and my brother-in-law actually probably were the ones that really help me more, because again, my mother wasn't a talker. She didn't want to talk. So she knew there was a problem, but she just sort of stupid, you know, like, I don't understand what you're doing. This is ridiculous. It was like that. Yeah. And interestingly, when I was kind of in this like 15, 16, 17 era, this lady lived around the corner from me. She's I think she's like about 14 years older than me, 15 years older than me. She asked me to babysit for her once, and she had a little boy, and so I went around and I babysat. And thereafter, I ended up babysitting for this family every single night on a Friday and Saturday. But the one thing that they gave me, which I will always be forever grateful for, was a sense of belonging. Because to them, she was very nurturing. The mum is, and she's still a really good friend of mine, is very, very nurturing. But nothing was ever off limits. So she kind of was raw and upfront and brutal and blunt.
Which you weren't used to.
Which I wasn't used to. But equally at the same time, I could ask her anything and she'd give me an answer.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they started to create this like family environment for me, where I felt like I had a sense of belonging. And once that sort of kind of settled in, everything else around it started to sort of heal. Like I started to heal internally. And again, at that point, even she used to give me books to read on like how to think and, you know, what's good for your body, what's good for your health, you know. And because I was seeing her twice a week because I was babysitting for her kids, she'd always be checking in on me, you know, what's going on, and that gave me this thing.
Would you say?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And we're still brilliant friends to this day. Like we're still it's such good friends. And now I've watched. So she went on, had more kids, and I looked after them as well. So I watched her kids grow up, and I mean, her youngest is now 23. Wow. So it was a long time ago, and I remember
we all need a mentor, don't we? We all need that someone.
I think that was it, right?
Things and talk to you and let you and say, you know, what's going on with you, and and if you're not getting that at home from your parents, parents can, you know, you can't. Parents do what they know best, don't they? But let's face it, they don't always know best. It's not the easiest job in the world, it's
not the easiest job in the world. And I think this is why I talk to Willow so much. You know, I don't know whether you do that. Like, you know, some of the you brought up, you don't want to replicate.
The kind of conversations we have in this house is like, oh my God, don't let anyone hear us talking. They'll be like, really? What are you talking about? There's nothing, right? Off limits, yeah. And sometimes my boys open up a bit too much. I was like, oh, I don't need to hear that. But that's great, you know, because I know that if there's anything bothering them,
they'll come to you.
I know they're going to come and talk to me about it, you know. So that's great that you're. Yeah,
and I think obviously then fast forwarding to when I was obviously in this really bad end of this relationship and stuff like that, that's why I was so, yes, I felt like I was in a dark room and I had nowhere to go apart from jump out the window. But that was why I was so, right, the only person that can save myself right now is me.
Yeah.
And that's why I put myself into therapy. That's why although I'd had all my studying and all my qualifications, I threw myself back into my work because I was like, the person that is going to save you right now, Sally, is yourself. And by doing that,
didn't you?
I ended up coaching myself. Yeah. I ended up going back and coaching myself back through the process. And because I was so aware of what it would do to Willow, so aware. And that's what essentially saved me, to be honest. So there's definitely been some ups and downs, but then I think everybody has a story, do you know what I mean? And everybody is struggling with something. And I think everybody, to a certain degree, has a solution for someone else's problem, do you know what I mean? Or a way of helping or a way of educating. And that's why I love what you're doing here. I do a podcast a little bit similar. And I love that because I want other people to see that. Because on the outside, right, it's like with that Fox interview, from the outside, you can look at things and be like, wow, like she's got her life together, like she's doing so well, like this is amazing.
Social media as well, isn't it? You see all the good bits on social media. You don't see the raw bits and all.
No, you don't see the raw bits
going on.
Exactly. And that's why I love these kinds of conversations in these chats, because I'm like, this is real. Yeah, this is the real stuff. This is the hard stuff. But equally at the same time, this makes us relatable, because everybody there'll be something in every single person's life that they're like, either they're battling something, or they're struggling with something, or there is an element, and it's like, yeah, you know what? This is real.
Well, all the best coaches, are the coaches that have been through shit themselves.
Yeah, they are.
That's when you can empathize, like we said before.
Yeah.
Been through what you've been through. So if anyone comes through your door and wants coaching from you, you know how to do it because you've been there. You've learned, you've taught yourself, you've coached yourself, you've come out the other side.
Yeah.
And when we come out the other side, things still do come back to haunt us.
Right.
I'm in a really loving relationship now with Lee, bless him, my husband.
He's lovely.
He is lovely. But crap that's gone on before with other partners rears its ugly head occasionally. And sometimes I find myself reacting to things thinking, oh no, that's how I react with a narcissist or a dickhead. React like now. So checking in with yourself all the time and using the skills that we've learned to change our mindset, reframe things. It's a constant thing. You have to do it daily. You don't just learn to do it and then all of a sudden you're a positive thinker. It's like a process.
Exactly that. I say that to a lot of my clients. I'm like, do you know what? I could walk into the gym tomorrow and be like, I want a 6-pack, and then walk straight back out again and do jack shit. Like, I'm not going to get the 6-pack, am I? And it's the same principle with our mind, because we need to keep learning, we need to keep growing, we need to keep pouring the energy into ourselves, and our mindset will change. And when that starts to happen, then our outer reality will start to change as well. But it's a constant growth. I don't ever believe you kind of get to this end point and you're like, that's it, I'm fixed, I'm brilliant, I'm great. Because I genuinely don't, because I do believe every kind of like new level you get to, there'll be a new devil. There'll be something else that comes up, something else.
Things are cropping up in your life.
Life happens, right?
To ride that. Like at the moment, my youngest, Joel, bless him, he's got his GCSEs next month and he's going through his last set of mocks now.
Yeah.
And he left this morning going, oh, I think I've done crap this week and I'm like, good luck in your exam. Oh, I'm going to be shit. I'm like, and I try to get him to reframe it. I'm like, if you tell yourself you're going to be crap, you're not going to do well, that's what's going to happen. So you've got to say, I'm going to do my best. I've been studying. I'm going to do as well as I can. And whatever mark I get, and I try and teach him.
Yeah.
My eldest is much, he'll say something. He'll go, okay, and he'll try and believe it and walk off, whether he actually does or not. But my youngest, I really battle with him with saying negative, and I'm like, no, let's reframe that. He looks at me and rolls his eyes.
Yeah.
But, I'm trying. I'm hopefully over the years it will sink in, and
100%. I honestly believe it will, because there's been, like it happens to all of us, we'll cry at times, right? Willow does a lot of yoga. She's big into her yoga, and she does breath work at school. It is amazing. The club that they offer is just fantastic. It's brilliant. And if there's ever a time when she finds me upset or something like that, she'll say to me, Mummy, let's do some breath work. Let's do some affirmations. And bear in mind, she's 6. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm saying she's the most angelic child ever, because she's not. But
she's aware, isn't she?
But she's aware. Right. And then she came home from school the other day. She had a really crap day at school. I don't really know what had gone on. I tried to get to the bottom of it, but I couldn't. And I said to her, I said, well, what do I need to do right now to help you? What is it you need me to be or show up as? She said, I don't know, but I just want to be grateful. And I was like, cool, we can start there. We can start there. And then we literally just sat there and we were talking about our gratitudes and how grateful we are for the things that we have or that are around us or that we're together. And we literally just sat there and we ticked them off on our fingers. Like, what? And I said, well, let's just start with 5. Let's just start with 5. Tell me 5 things that you're grateful for. Mummy, tell you 5 things that she's grateful for. So I think even that, so yeah, you sometimes think, oh my God, is this even going in? Like all this stuff. But actually, I think it really, really is.
I know with Joel, he'll tell me something that's gone on with him maybe 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
He'll come out with something and I'll go, oh, was that when you were feeling his Yeah. And he wasn't ready to talk about it then. You know, he's processed it in his own way. He's dealt with it in his own way. He knows I'm there to talk to if he wants me to, or to listen. And then, but when he's ready, he comes back and we have a whole conversation about it. He tells me how he dealt with it. And then I say, well, you know, maybe next time it happens, maybe you can do this, and this. But at the time when it's happening, he doesn't want to talk about it. And I've learned, I like, tell me. But I've learned to go, okay, tell me when you're ready. You know,
and sure enough, they do.
Yeah, eventually. But it's hard bloody work being a parent, isn't it? I mean, I'm still learning. I'm 21 and nearly 16, and I'm still learning every day. You know, how to navigate it, because there's different things happen at different ages, don't they? We think you've.
Oh my god! Right. Oh jeez, I remember having Willow and someone saying to me, "Oh, you know, the first year is the hardest year. After that, it gets way easier." And I was like, oh, okay. You know, when you're in that baby state, I'm like, oh my god. And I remember getting to the year 2, year 3, and being like, I want to punch that person full on in the face, because that is a load of shit. It doesn't get easier. Let me make that caveat right now. Does not get easier. It's just a different struggle that you're dealing with. And I even had this exact conversation with Willow this morning, and I can't remember what she was talking about. And she asked me Andrew questions about this and that, and I said to Willow, I'm still in training. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm in training to be a mum. She was like, but you are my mum. And I was like, yes, I know. But what I mean is I'm still learning every single day. And some days I'll do really well, and other days I won't. But I said, but the biggest thing that we can try and do is just work together and keep talking to each other and communicating with each other. I was like, can you do that? She was like, yeah, but you didn't make my breakfast very nicely. So I was like, okay, that's fine.
You got puberty next, haven't you? Puberty, perimenopause, menopause. Puberty. That's a whole nother topic.
Oh my God. Do you know what? Talking of perimenopause, because I'm 39 now. To think then. And I woke up, the last few nights I've woken up really, really hot. I remember I mentioned this to you a little while ago. I'm sure I voice noted you about this. It was like the depths of winter. I think it was like a year ago or something. Yeah, just so hot all the time.
I was 38. So when my hot sweat started, I was 38. I was between children. So
that's right. Yeah.
I hadn't yet fallen for Joel, and I was having all these hormone fluctuations, these hot sweats. I didn't know what perimenopause was at that time. And I thought I kind of knew instinctively it was my hormones, but because I just had a baby, I was still breastfeeding. I thought it was that, but it wasn't until later on I looked back. It was like, well, that was my perimenopause started between kids. That's why it took me so long to fall for Joel as well, because you can still but because your periods are all over the place.
All over the place, yeah.
So in hindsight, anyway, another conversation.
The one thing I will say as well, like, and this is again kind of, I guess, going back to sort of like keeping the lines of communication open is, because we obviously had a chat and I did a podcast with you, which I put up on my socials, and this there was a couple of women that reached out to me, and this made me quite like, and they were like, thank you so much that you're talking about this in regards to menopause and perimenopause. And I think they were from, I don't know, the Middle East or somewhere like that. I so assume where they were from. And they were saying, because from where we're from, it's still a massive, massive taboo to speak about. We don't speak about it. So they were like, we've actually just listened to your interview with Joe, like on our own quietly. They said, but now it's given us the ability to go and like follow her and join her. And again, I think that's what I was saying earlier in regards to, this is why I'm such a big fan of the coaching industry and people doing good in this world, because the ripple effect it has is so huge. You don't even realize it. I never expected to get that message from 2 women who I'd never spoken to in all my life. And you just think that ripple effect has been so big.
And that's one of the positives of social media. I mean, social media has a lot of negatives, but one of the positives is reaching people like that. if social media didn't exist, they'll be in their country with their
exactly. You wouldn't be you wouldn't know them from anyone, right? So I think, it's just why I'm such an advocate for coaching and people really trying to help each other, and especially women trying to inspire other women but support other women and create a safe space for those women to show up as themselves, right?
And I do have that podcast where I was speaking to you about menopause on my YouTube channel as well.
Yeah,
so who goes to watch this,
go and watch that as well, because it was really interesting and so much insight and useful takeaways from that as well. To be able to use, because essentially 50% of the population are going to go through menopause.
Yeah, and a big percentage of those 50% will go through a sketchy one, where they need support. There's very few women that go through it easily. Some do. Some are lucky that they do, but the majority don't. And when they know that they're not alone and they know that there's things that they can do to make it a smoother ride, then it just feels so much better then. Anyway.
It's collective energy then, isn't it? It's that collectiveness of kind of feeling supported by other people who just get it, who just understand it.
My perimenopause group, once they enter the group and they're like, oh my God, there's 5,000 women in this group going through the same thing.
It's me.
And it just helps straight away. You feel better straight away knowing that you're not alone and that you're not going crazy.
Yeah, of course, right.
When you start getting brain fog and feeling all these things and anxiety, you've never had anxiety in your life, and then all of a sudden you're anxious to leave the house.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with me?
That must just be the scariest feeling as well, because I've suffered with a degree of anxiety in my life. Not to like a really severe scale, like when people have really severe anxiety, but I've definitely suffered anxiety at periods where I've been very anxious around certain things, or especially when I'm going through rough periods. So if you're a woman and you've never ever suffered with something like that, and then all of a sudden you find yourself up against something which can be as debilitating as that.
Especially when you're in the workplace, and normally you're quite high up as well. I mean, you can do any kind of work, but the ladies that are high up, usually on point, everyone, and then all of a sudden they can't remember anything, and they're feeling anxious about going to work. It's like it hits them with a ton of bricks, and like
surprise.
Terrible.
Yeah, but that is why what you're doing is so incredible. I'm such an advocate for it. I really, really am. And that's why I voice note you. Oh, I'm sweating.
Well, Sally, I thank you so much for giving me 48 minutes of your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I love, like I said to you, I love doing stuff like this because there is such a big ripple effect when you do things like this. And if you can just inspire someone and just show them that, you know what, we've both had different stories, rough periods of our life, but we are still very much showing up for ourselves. We're showing up for our clients. We're showing up for the people that we want to support and help. Then I'm all for it.
Thank you, my love. You take care. And
I love you so much.
Love you too.
Take care, darling. Bye.
Bye.